Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're not just, analyzing sources. We're going to try and dismantle one of the most fundamental things humanity just assumes: the value of comparison.
It's a huge topic.
It is. Our source material today is pretty radical. It's from a transcript called Comparison and Enlightenment. And our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack this idea. It claims comparison is the root of all human confusion, and here's the kicker, every single outcome in your life is equally predetermined and valuable.
It's a full philosophical workout.
Absolutely. We're going deep.
And it forces you to completely overhaul how you even think about judgment. The source starts with this foundational idea, almost like a spiritual law. You are me, I am you, everything is experiencing.
Okay, so a unified consciousness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A foundational unity. And from that unified viewpoint, every single experience from the highest high to the absolute lowest low is given the same weight, the same value. The Japanese term they use is truchi, which means something like equally precious. So as we talk today, you have to keep that radical, non-judgmental lens in mind.
The feeling of preciousness has to apply to everything.
Everything, not just the good stuff.
All right, let's dig into this then. If we're all one and all experiences are, as you said, tucci, equally precious, why do we spend our lives in such misery? Why do we constantly feel like we're failing?
Well, the source is incredibly specific on this. It says suffering begins the moment. The very instant comparison enters the picture.
The moment you compare.
That's it. Comparison is the beginning of what the source calls mayoi.
Mayoi.
And that means
Confusion.
Yeah.
Wandering. It's that aimless state that comparison just forces you into.
so it's the moment we stop just being in an experience and start asking.
Exactly. Start asking which path is better, which one is more advantageous, which road is going to lead me to happiness. The second you introduce another option, you also introduce the possibility of choosing wrong. Wow. And without that comparison, the whole concept of a bad result it can't exist.
It can't. If there's only one road, you're just walking.
Yeah.
But the moment there are two, you suddenly have to worry about missing out on the better one.
And that opens you up to that feeling of loss.
Precisely. That feeling of sanshita, a sense of loss or that you've made a huge mistake. The entire structure of human stress is built right on top of that feeling.
And the source says this anxiety is driven by specific energies, right?
Yes, two mechanical energies.
This is where it gets really practical. What are they?
So first, there's the energy of past memory. Every mistake you've ever made, every failure, it sort of warns you. It says, be careful, judge incorrectly this time, and you'll get burned just like before.
So it's your own history working against you.
Totally. And the second one is maybe even more powerful. It's the energy of future anxiety.
Ah, the what ifs.
The what if. That paralyzing worry about making an irreversible choice. What if I pick the wrong job, the wrong city, the wrong partner, and I can never, ever go back?
I feel like I live right at the intersection of those two things. That constant pressure to make the absolute optimal choice.
And that pressure is what forces your consciousness completely out of the present moment. The source gives a very clear definition of worry, or nayami.
Okay.
It's literally the state where your consciousness has departed from Imikono Shunkin, this present moment.
You're either in the past or in the future.
Reliving past loss or projecting future fear. You simply can't be present when you're comparing.
So if that's the mechanics of suffering, what's the root cause of this whole illusion? It has to be that deep-seated belief that there are objectively good and bad outcomes waiting for us.
That is the core illusion this source just blows apart.
Yeah.
It explicitly argues that good things and bad things, they don't actually exist as independent realities.
No moral scoreboard in the sky.
None. There is only the right path, which results in a right experience, and the left path, which results in a left experience. That's it.
You don't get a gold star for picking the right one.
You just get the experience that path was designed to deliver. It's like an inventory system, not a grading system.
Which brings us to the big question then. Why are we even here? If it's not to succeed or, learn moral lessons, what are we doing in these bodies?
The source is clear on this. The purpose of life is pure experience, not learning lessons in the way we think of them.
Okay, pure experience.
Right. We are all, fragments of this unified source or God, which it calls Mu. And Mu, because it's completely unified, cannot directly experience things like limitation or separation or conflict.
Because it's already perfectly harmonious.
Exactly.
Mm.
So we take on physical bodies to undergo every kind of experience that the source itself cannot.
So if someone has fully experienced, say, the right path of safety and prosperity,
That soul will eventually feel a pull, a desire for the left path experience. Risk, poverty, uncertainty. Not because it's a moral lesson, but simply because it's the unexperienced item on the menu. It's a craving for variety.
And this is where the source really asks us to abandon all of our judgment. I mean, honestly, this is where it gets ethically very tricky, but also fascinating.
It does. To illustrate this point, they use a really extreme, almost shocking example.
Yeah, they really go there.
They do. They suggest that even a truly heinous experience, like committing a murder and then feeling that intense regret and remorse and going through the punishment, that is also on the desired menu of experiences.
Okay, I have to push back here just for the listener. How can we possibly equate something that causes such irreversible suffering with something simple like brushing your teeth?
And that's the radical non-dualism we have to stick with for this deep dive. The source argues that when you view it only through the lens of experience,
Just as an experience, nothing else.
right, that complex chain of events, the impulse, the action, the regret, the consequence, is conceptually equal in value to the mundane action of brushing your teeth.
Because both are just experiences the soul wanted to fulfill.
Yes. The moment you measure only by the metric of was an experience had, all actions become equivalent parts of the total human story.
So it's not saying murder doesn't matter. It's saying that the experience that was ordered up was the intense feeling of regret and the consequence of loss. It's about the emotional density.
Precisely. And they try to soften that moral recoil by suggesting, well, if you don't feel the urge to do something like that now, it's probably because your soul has already satisfied that extremely dense, high-stakes experience in a past life.
You've already ticked that box on the menu.
Tick that box. So there are only experiences. All of them are too cheap.
Okay, so if the goal is just pure experience, what's the destination? What are we cycling back towards?
The ultimate state is realizing what they call kanzen naruchua, complete perfect harmony.
The middle way.
The middle way, or
Yeah.
chudu, a state where you're no longer swayed right or left by comparison or duality.
But, and this is the key thing, right? We always hear spiritual teachers say, you must achieve harmony. It sounds like a goal.
Yes, and the source makes a critical clarification here. It says, this harmonious state is not a goal to be achieved. The Japanese is mezazeguru de wa aremasen deshita.
So it's not something we're aiming for.
No, it says it is already here, now. Ima koko ni aremashita. It's in the foundation of the world, what they call the singularity point, or the center of the heart chakra.
Harmony is the default setting.
It's the canvas. Our lives are just the paint.
So if harmony is the default, why did we ever leave it? Why attach this whole mechanism of confusion to ourselves?
That's where the ego comes in, the jiga ishiki. The source says the ego was intentionally attached to the original self.
For what purpose?
Well, if we only experience things from that neutral, balanced middle way, all our experiences would be, kind of bland. The source says monotonous.
So the ego is the complexity engine. It's the spice rack. It's what makes the movie worth watching.
I love that. The spice rack, absolutely. The ego adds what they call ayat, the low rishon color and variety to the experience.
It generates all the emotions.
The full, rich range. The paralyzing anxiety, the thrilling excitement, deep sadness, ecstatic joy. The ego creates the feeling of dichotomy. The feeling that one choice is better, the feeling of winning and losing. Without that, the experience is just flat.
That really reframes every moment of anxiety I've ever had. Okay, so let's bring this back down to earth. For someone making daily choices, if my life is just a variety show stirring my anxious ego, does a huge decision like which house to buy, which city to move to, does it actually matter in the grand scheme?
This is where we get to the most liberating and maybe the most difficult concept in the whole thing.
Which is
The pre-chosen menu.
the pre-chosen menu.
The source argues that before you came into this body, your original self, Mu, selected a menu of core experiences and feelings it wanted to have,
Like what, for example?
like the deep feeling of being truly loved, or, conversely, the feeling of being chronically unloved but totally free, or the specific feeling of achieving mastery after a huge struggle.
Okay, wait. If this menu is fixed, how is that any different from just simple fatalism? Why do anything if the result is already decided?
That's the critical distinction. Fatalism suggests your actions don't matter. This philosophy suggests the path you take is flexible, but the conclusion, that ultimate deep-seated emotional realization, is fixed. The menu has to be fulfilled.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, the source uses a great one. Imagine two people. Person A's menu item is to experience being profoundly loved. Person B's menu item is to experience being unloved but fiercely free.
Okay, got it.
So person B might spend their entire life looking for love, They might work on relationships, change how they look, compromise constantly. But because the conclusion on their menu is unloved but free, they will inevitably sabotage good relationships or meet partners who leave them.
Until they fulfill that pre-chosen feeling.
Until they fulfill it. Until they feel unloved and finally realize the fierce freedom that comes with it.
So all the effort person B puts in just creates a more complicated, winding path to the exact same emotional destination.
Exactly. The choice between path 1, trying hard, and path 2, not trying, it only changes the scenery along the way.
Yeah.
The conclusion is fixed. Worrying about the micro-choice between right and left is literally wasted energy.
That is harsh. But I can also see the profound relief in that. If you know the destination, you can stop agonizing over the directions.
That's the idea.
So if the result is the same, what's the practical advice? I'm faced with 2 job offers, 2 apartments. What do I actually do? Should I just flip a coin?
The source suggests you stop wasting massive amounts of mental energy on the comparison itself. The energy we use resisting the inevitable menu agonizing over Job A versus Job B is immense.
And what do we do with that energy instead?
You apply it to simply living the experience once the choice is made. Don't worry if Job A was better. Just plunge into Job A and extract every single ounce of experience from it.
They even give a practical solution for those, low stakes but high anxiety decisions, which I love.
They do. Since the ultimate result is determined anyway, they say use simple, random methods. Roll dice, use a number generator, or the Japanese Amiakuji lottery.
Don't spend a rinse building a spreadsheet to decide which color sofa to buy.
Exactly.
I can just hear someone listening and thinking, this sounds totally reckless.
It sounds reckless to the ego, because the ego believes its decisions are absolutely crucial to the outcome. But the source is arguing, the ego's anxiety about failure is the very thing that stops you from fully experiencing the path you're on.
So what's the benefit of this? Radical acceptance.
Freedom. When you make the choice quickly, without all that agonizing, you free up so much energy. And that saved energy can be directed toward just immersing yourself in the experience.
And that immersion leads to what?
It leads to the profound, intrinsic feeling of Jujutsu-kan to Kufuku-kan. Fullness and happiness. That deep, satisfying feeling is the real prize the original self was after. The moment you truly believe what I do does not change the predetermined emotional conclusion, you are instantly liberated from the ego's anxiety about making a mistake. You can finally just be present.
That's an incredible full circle moment for this whole deep dive.
Okay.
Comparison causes meoi, confusion, but recognizing we're already in a state of harmony, living a pre-chosen menu, that leads to profound relief. It lets us stop fighting our life and start living it.
And that leaves us with one last provocative thought, one that pushes this idea of non-judgment to its absolute limit and really challenges how we see suffering in the world.
Okay, let's hear it.
The text suggests that if you see someone suffering or in need, someone struggling with money or someone who's incredibly lonely, that person is simply playing the role of someone who needs help.
Playing a role, why would they do that?
To allow you to have your experience. Maybe you came here to experience being confused by suffering, or the feeling of trying to help, or the feeling of empathy. The unified source, Mu, orchestrated the whole scene so both of you could fulfill your necessary menu items.
Wow. Okay, so if I truly internalize that no person who is truly suffering exists outside of my own recognition of them, what changes?
It forces you to look inward. If you accept that every experience is equally valuable, Tutusi, it raises a huge question. Are your attempts to fix other people for their ultimate benefit? Or are they to satisfy your own menu item, the desire to experience the role of the capable helper?
It suggests that suffering is just a stage setting, created by the source for the purpose of intense, dense, and ultimately valuable experience.
It's a fundamental shift in perception.
And that's the thought we want to leave you with. If the suffering you perceive is a necessary stage set for your own experience, how would that alter the choices you make today?